Hello, hello. Thank you for tuning in. It's another episode of Legendary Moments. And today we will be conversating with the one and only Captain Marvin Harris. Over 4 decades of military service, coming in the ranks as a enlisted, all the way up to the rank of captain. That is something to be commendable. Um, Experienced a lot, seen a lot. You got retirement approaching real soon. Something like that, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of willpower, staying power, to achieve that. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Okay. And for you to get to this point right now, what would you say is the moment that kind of changed it all for you and put you on this trajectory?
Wow, that's a pretty complicated question. Because there isn't just one moment, there are several. Well, actually, there may even be more than several moments that put me on in this trajectory that I landed on. Because it happens at every phase of your life. When you're young airman, when you're young petty officer, when you're chief, even when you think that you've made it, or us as LDOs assume that we made it because we made it, there are still those moments. So I think I'll run through a couple of those
Oh,
today.
absolutely. We want to dig into that. That's the part we want to dig into, the work behind the work. But what was just one in particular that was just like, okay, this is no longer just something to do. I'm finna to dedicate and pursue this.
So I would say, I think around E5 time frame, and I'll have to frame it for you
Mhm.
because, on my first ship, I was going, just kind of going with the flow. I'm mechanical. I'm good with my hands. I grew up in the South. I grew up on a farm, so hard work is nothing to me. And the stuff that they were doing wasn't hard work. I ain't tell my leadership that, but it wasn't hard work to me. So, I went through the motions. Started having fun though. There's nothing like being on that flight deck, getting sucked into launching and recovering airplanes, moving airplanes, going back and forth with your fellow divisions up there on the flight deck, pulling into all these foreign ports, pulling into stateside ports, and you just kind of get caught up in it. So did that, made the third class pretty quick, second class in 2.5 years.
Mm.
So at that point, I'm like, well, I might as well check this thing out, see where it's gonna go. And that wasn't the deciding point though.
Okay.
That's just the beginning of the. I did this 4 years on sea duty. I might as well go see if I can be an instructor and see where we go with this. So, lead a ranger, go to Tennessee. Meet my now wife, then girlfriend off and on a little bit. And we get married, we have kids, and I am starting to get frustrated with the direction of the Navy. I'm a second class at this point.
Mhm.
Um, no, 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 shoot, I jacked that all up. I'm. That's what happened when you get old. I'm running. That hadn't happened yet. So went to Tennessee. Had a really successful tour there. Ran into a chief.
Mhm.
Uh, On the Ranger, I couldn't tell you who my chief was.
Right.
Never saw the man.
Mm.
Yeah, I could tell you who he was, but I never really saw my chief. So ran into a chief there in Millington, retired W5, Larry Dean, invested some time in me. I was a hooper.
Mhm.
He coached basketball, invested some time in me. Got me my first award, gave me my first legitimate LPO position. And I think at that point, that man's investment of time and effort in me is what allowed me to start to see that light click. Yeah, you could do this. You're good at it. I knew I was good.
Mhm.
When I took second class exam, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but they posted the results on the LCAD downstairs.
Okay. Yeah.
You go down there, you're looking at the results. I go down, my name ain't on the list, and I go back up and go to the division office and say, hey, they got a mistake down there on the promotion board. My name ain't on the list.
Oh, okay.
He was like, what? What do you mean, Professor Harris? I said, sir, there are not 23 other ABEs in the Navy better than me. You cannot convince me that there's 23 other ABEs in the Navy better than me. He was like, I'll tell you what, I'll look into it. And unbeknownst to me, the incremental promotion list hadn't been put out.
Okay.
Made first increment that exam, made second increment on the third class exam. So I knew I had the talent, you know. So it was just a matter of being committed to it. ABE is hard work. Yeah, I loved it, but didn't really appreciate it at that point. So when I met Chief Dean, Larry invested time in me. Larry started to change the trajectory of how I thought about leadership and things like that. The first chief that I had that put time and effort into, and not just me, all of his sailors.
Okay.
Because the man did not play.
Okay.
He was, I can't, matter of fact, he was the one who gave me my first counseling check.
Okay. So we gonna pause right there, right? So it sounds like at that second class moment, that militant set of orders, a combination of everything. Somebody putting time into you, effort into you, almost thinking you didn't make it and all that. But let's rewind it back. Let's rewind. Where did this all start? Where did the journey start? From Alabama, right?
Journey started from a little town called Cordoba, Alabama.
Okay.
Went to Livingston High School, you know, graduated in 1986. Ventured over in your neighborhood over in Montgomery, spent a little bit of my grandmother's hard-earned money at Alabama State University, and realized at that point that I wasn't, I mean, I was a great student. You know, that wasn't it. Got put on probation. We won't talk about that right here, right now, but got put on probation. It was
The academic probation.
it was not academic.
Gotcha. Understood. Understood.
It was not an academic probation. And during that time, me and my cousin was down there. He was from Detroit. I'm from Alabama.
Okay.
He rolls out. He goes back to Detroit and goes to Wayne State. And I'm like, shit, he didn't abandon me. Oh, sorry, my bad language.
No, you good.
He was like, I was like, shit, he didn't abandon me down here. So, you know, I'm partying, having a great time. Decided that I'm going to change schools. I'm going to go to, it's known now as University of West Alabama. Then it was Livingston University.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to Livingston University. The Navy detailer had been on me already, you know, trying to recruit me. My grandmother was not having it. Period. Her husband was killed in the Port Chicago explosion.
Okay.
Not sure if you've heard of that.
I have.
You know, her husband.
Historical moment.
Yeah. Her husband was killed in the Port Chicago explosion. And the way that the families were handled in that, and I don't want to digress on that right now, but the way the families were handled on that left a bad taste in her mouth. So then the recruiter pulled up in my yard. He was getting the business. And my grandmother didn't play. Period. So waiting on to change schools, the recruiter comes down, talks to me. I call my big cousin. My cousin was in the Navy. Matter of fact, he was stationed right down in Meridian.
Okay.
I talked to him. He tells me, hey, whatever you do, don't sign a contract for a non-designated airman, non-designated. And if you do non-designated, definitely don't do non-designated seaman. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I signed up as a non-designated airman. And he said ABE. The other thing, don't be an ABE. So I go in as an undesignated airman, straight path to being an AB. So that's really how it got started. Went to Alabama State, got put on probation, was headed to the University of West Alabama. Never been great at just sitting around doing nothing. So during that time, recruiter rolled up on me, caught me at the right time. I signed up. Next thing I know, February, I'm in Great Lakes.
So how would you describe you at that age? Well, how many years of college did you do? 1 or 2?
No, I didn't do. Did a quarter.
Oh, that was enough.
Yep, did the fall quarter. Was headed in. You know, went home for Thanksgiving, Christmas break. Came back, started classes, did all that stuff, and was like, nah, I'm not doing this. Went back home, and Alabama State was on quarters. Livingston University was on semesters. So it was a break in there. So I didn't need to get to March before I could get signed back up for the spring semester. I couldn't make it to March. This was January. So recruiter rolled up on me, and you know, it's history.
And did pretty much everything your cousin told you not to do.
Everything he told me not to do, I did. Other than the seaman thing. Signed as a non-designated airman. I thought I had an East Coast guarantee, but that obviously wasn't the case because I ended up on the West Coast, shipped out to landed in Great Lakes February 11th, 1987. The ironic thing is they sent, you know, MEPS is in Montgomery, so they sent me back to Montgomery, go over to Alabama State, party that night that I'm in the hotel, you know, drag back in the room about 1:30, right before the freaking bus come to get us to take us to the airport and fly up to Chicago. So the rest has been history.
What was it like, that initial shock, you know, coming from your environment, how you grew up, you know, a little bit of trouble, and then transitioning into the military, your first command, what was that shock like?
First command, actually, it wasn't bad because the only thing for me is that I had never, go to boot camp, graduate boot camp, fly on the ship the day after my 19th birthday. I'm born June 1st. So June 2nd, I land aboard the Ranger.
Happy birthday.
In a car. So, yeah. Happy birthday. No, I land aboard in a Chinook. Land on the flight deck, got my sea bag on, in my blues, you know, probably 165 pounds soaking wet. Walk out on the flight deck and I'm looking around. I do not want any part of whatever this is right here. Walk downstairs. They take me to the Air Department office after they looked at my orders. And the Master Chief lined us up on the bulkhead, start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. My number was 2. I'm like,
and he ain't counting just to be
nah, I found that out the office.
yes, sir.
Because I had a partner that I went to boot camp with. He was 4. And I'm like, well, I want to go with my partner. You know, this is my boy. We hoopers. He got 4, I got 2. So I was off the V2. The LPO walks in. He's all of about as tall as your camera there. First class petty officer. And he is talking mad trash to me. I mean, just, yeah. And I'm looking at him thinking to myself, who is this kid? Because he's young. He's probably 27, 28. Made it pretty quick. And he is lighting me up. And I'm like, what? No. You know, I'm just in shock. But I think because I went right on deployment right after that. So I didn't really have time to think about much of anything other than I worked hard. So that was just something that I was accustomed to doing. So I didn't think about it. You know, people will be skating and I'm, you know, I might be the only person up there working, but that also taught me the maintenance aspect of things. So the adjustment was not bad.
Okay.
At all. Because like I said, I landed, we pulled in for Palm. So, you know, running around San Diego like my hair was on fire. And we pull out the 5th of July, go on deployment. So it wasn't that tough of an, because I didn't have time.
Gotcha.
Get on deployment, you know, I think first port was Hawaii, Philippines. So that was no real tough adjustment at that time. Even until I got homesick, but because they kept me busy.
That's what it sounds. That's what I was going to say. Like, it seems like you were so busy.
It was here.
You didn't even have time.
Yeah, it was here.
Realize, you know, where am I at? That's just changed for me.
When I landed, we were doing CQ and flight ops, what is probably the tail end of COM2X and JTFX, all the stuff that we do now. So, you know, probably a week into the job, I'm up on the flight deck with a flashlight in front of the center deck hatch, holding the red light on the nose. This was before we had hookup lights. So, you know, and we're into it. So, I was turning and burning.
So at what point did it kind of hit you, or you actually came to the realization like, oh, hold on, like this is not this. I am in the Navy. I am in this job. Like,
Well, in the Navy, when that dude walked down the middle of the aisle with that freaking trash can in Great Lake,
okay, okay.
I was like, what the world?
Uh-huh.
I had waves. So the dude in the barber shop, I'm like, you can't cut any more hair off my head. You know, that stuff was a shock. You know, that was the initial shock. But I am the type of person, regardless of how you come at me, I'm never gonna let you see me break.
Okay.
Even at that age,
Okay.
you could never break me. At least you couldn't tell that you had broke me. You could have broke me in half and never knew, because I've always been, I'm the oldest child.
Gotcha.
You know, no father in the house. Even though my brother's dad is, you know, we're pretty tight with him, because you know, he provided a little bit of support, but I didn't know my pops. So I'm accustomed to being that kind of leader off the rip, because I'm the oldest son, and my brother is 3 years younger than me. So everywhere I went, he went. You know, there was no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So just navigating through that, then you just kind of, you know, it just kind of taught me to be a little bit ahead of where I probably should have been when it comes to maturity and stuff like that.
I mean, that's good to show that outward exteriority, you know, that I don't want to be broken. But what about those moments when you was by yourself? You know, at some point we all need that person that we can kind of rely on, or just kind of talk us through some moments. And sometimes though,
At that age, I don't know. I didn't. I tell you, I was running so fast, I didn't even really think about that, to be honest. I don't know. I don't remember having many breakdown moments back then during that time, you know, other than, you know, running out of money in 3 days after payday. You know, I had a set of partners that I ran with, and you'll be at the retirement ceremony, so you'll meet a couple of them cats from back in the day. But I'll be honest, I didn't have a mentor until I was already an officer. As shocking as that sounds.
yes.
I did not have a mentor, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But I didn't have a mentor other than Larry Dean, you know. But Larry, we didn't talk and communicate after I left Tennessee. So you know, I won't use the word self-made, because plenty of people have helped me out, but I didn't have a mentor. When you talk about the word mentor,
Right.
you're talking a whole different beast. That person puts time in almost every day thing. You know, it's almost like your child.
Yeah. So you was kind of self-driven.
Yeah, definitely.
And that would you say that came pretty much from being the oldest and being kind of like the father figure in the household?
I think that, and now that I think about it, when guys showed up, you know, we were all racing, trying to get to a particular qualification.
Gotcha.
You know, and back then, in order to get the qual, you had to know how to maintain it too. So
Absolutely.
you know, we just jump in and start doing it. You know, so there's like Tommy Edgeworth. I'm not sure if you know Captain Edgeworth, another AB captain. He and I I'm probably a month ahead of him first time in the Navy, but guys from his class were stationed on the ship with me. So instead of, we all graduated boot camp, I went to the ship, they went to Lakehurst for A school. So competing with those guys, I think what drove me, even at that age, if I was going to do something, I wanted to be the best at it. It was, I'm competitive now.
And I think that right there,
I'm a competitive cat. You know, I don't, you know, shoot marbles. I'm trying to give you the business. Anything that I do, yes, I'm trying to give you the business every time.
I ain't come here to play.
Yeah. No, I tell players, tell guys that, look, I didn't even care for recess back in the day. So, you know, I don't like, especially when it's things available. But the other side of that, I will help you as much as I can, because I want to look you face to face when I run you over. I want you to see me coming when I run into you. I'm never gonna slight you.
Right.
I'm never gonna degrade you.
Right.
And I want to run right through your chest. That was how I was built. That's how I'm.
So we run again, sports and because that's not super competitive like that.
Not really, but neighborhood sport.
Gotcha.
You know, me and my cousin, I called him the other day. We're just talking, shooting the breeze about growing up in the neighborhood. You know, but you know, everything we did was always competitive.
Right.
With the group that I ran with, even with me and my brother. My brother had never beat me at anything until I ran up into him on the golf course. I was not ready. I'm gonna tell you, it's setback. Now you talk about a setback. That was a setback.
Yeah.
Big bro lost to little bro. That sucker took all my money that day. So that was the setback.
Okay.
That's the knockbacks. Now I got a few that we'll dig into with the Navy, but those came further down the line.
Gotcha.
Young guy, man, I just enjoy everything that was in front of me.
Gotcha.
You know, making rank. Now, going from second class to first class, I made second class in 1990.
Okay.
I didn't make first class in 95. So I had taken that doggone first class exam so many times that I can almost tell you every question on the exam. But at that point in time, our multiple was so. Matter of fact, the first 3 or 4 times I took it, I was mathematically eliminated. Now that was kind of disheartening, you know, knowing that there's a target out there and you can't reach that target regardless of how you shoot, what you do, you just can't get there. I didn't have enough. I wasn't senior enough to have longevity points. The thing that got me over is that I scored so high throughout the test, then I got the P&A points. Kind of helped out. So until I got to that point, it was a struggle.
So how difficult was it to sit down knowing, because you said test score on the test wise, you knocking it out.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm knocking it out.
And you still knowing like ain't nothing I can do. Like, so how did you sit down and face that test like every time then?
It was just something I had to do. I was the next thing. That's that next thing in front of me.
Gotcha.
I think I can explain it better like this. My grandmother is probably my grandmother taught us to be, you face all adversity. My grandmother, when I say wasn't no pump, you don't know me well enough to have heard my grandmother's story. And I'll give you a brief one here. My grandmother, when we were kids, she had a great friend. Her friend had a cut from this side of her temple to that side of her temple. Guess where she got that cut from? My grandmother. They were I'm not sure what the heck they were beefing over. She's told us the story many years ago, but they were fighting. Oh, my grandfather. My grandmother told my grandfather not to go to the club. My grandfather went to the club. He's walking up the road with this young lady, and she walks up on him. And she said some things to my grandmother that she probably shouldn't have said. And before she could get the words out, my grandmother had cut her. That woman instilled in me and my brother and all of her kids. She had 5 kids that, you know, you let nobody run over you. No, she didn't want us fight. We're not bullies. We didn't go to school and pick on people. But if you put your hands on me, oh, I'm getting with you. But you ain't starting it. You wasn't. So that's where that competitiveness come from.
Gotcha.
That drivenness come from. And that not being broken come from. Because my grandmother purchased 50 acres of land, built a home as a African-American woman in the 50s in Alabama. Built it from the ground up. So that's that motivation that I've always had, because that's what she demanded.
Gotcha.
So she demanded that.
By the time you get to Millington and you do find someone that's kind of pouring into you, is that point where you kind of like, I'm a sticker. You still say that, like, this is the point I'm kind of sticking around.
Yeah.
So that first class exam, like you said, okay, it doesn't matter because I'm still going
to push.
Gotcha.
And that was around the time that, like, I made, like I said, I made E5 in 2.5, 3 years. Got over there to Larry. Did 2 years there at Millington. Didn't pick it up there. So that's part of that whole process. The entire time I was there, I'm taking that first class exam. Report to the enterprise.
Big E.
Get to the Big E. Took it. And the final time I took it in 1995, March exam of 95. I take it again. That was my last time. Something tells me, I'm always in my mind, and I didn't put all my points on my worksheet at the time when I signed it. Signed it, had 2 points held back. Scored, thing came back, and I missed it by 0.19 or something like that. So I'm looking and I'm like, yes, but I can't celebrate till I get down to Perzo or ESO and show them this award. So I run down there, show it to them. Now I got to take it back up. They do a letter up there, and I go down and we're talking. At that point, the maintenance officer was like, okay, you and we ain't got to that yet. But at that point, he pulled me and put me into the BIOS. I was in the waist. Pulled me and put me in the BIOS, the LPO. But that was the point where it really just started to click, because I got to the enterprise. We're in RCOH, by the way.
Okay.
So we're putting stuff back together. We're trying to get this thing put back together, and there was components and parts everywhere. So when I say I hone my skill, and I've never been any more technically sound than when I was second and first class on the Enterprise, is because of the pure amount of things that we had to rebuild on that ship. So, but yeah, Larry kind of started that trajectory. So, but I don't call him a mentor, because I'll explain what I think a mentor is. Larry was a great advisor for me at that point in time. And he was on Enterprise. Matter of fact, he followed me to Enterprise. Matter of fact, he was the crash chief up there, but that's a whole different monster now.
Yeah.
I'm ABE, so I don't see him anymore.
So, and speaking of that, right, because again, I get it, you the type that is just like, hey, no one's going to see me break. Nobody's going to see me waver. But ABEs, that's a hard job. Was there a point, being that it was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4? Was there a point where you were just like, oh, I don't know if I can do this ABE thing. Like I want to kind of do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. In Millington, I had looked into converting to AC. So what I didn't say is that I was I was either 1 or 2 in the class. So you get automatic selection of what rate you want to be. But my intimate wisdom, these rates that I like required a 2-year commitment beyond what I had. And I'm like, I'm getting out. I ain't doing this. So I didn't take high school. I went to the ship.
You wanted to be the A. You could have been the AC, but you just chose not to.
That 5 years chased me off that AC. That's how limited our vision and thought is at that age. Because I'm like, I am not staying in the Navy for another year. That's crazy.
Right.
They walked away. Didn't even, didn't talk to anybody about it. Just turned and walked away. I had the scores. I barely had the score, but I had the score when you go back and you match all the numbers up. But yeah, no, I walked away from it. But them bonuses didn't, it didn't regulate that extra year. That I was like, so that's just how short-sighted my thinking was.
Math
it was not.
Wasn't worth it.
That 1 year, I'm like, man, I'm out of here. I'm getting my butt back to Alabama now. We're done.
What they say, juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
It was not worth the squeeze at that time. But if I had to make that decision again, knowing what I know now, I would have made the same decision, because I would not still be here if I was air traffic control. If I was any other thing than what I was, I don't think I would have been here, at least not this long, for sure.
You already made mention of the fact that you're kind of self-driven and everything like that. You want to be the best, beat you at all costs and everything like that, right? So coming up in the AB community, what is something that coming up in the AB community taught you early on?
That hard work, I tell you, I think, especially coming up in the era that I came up in, that hard work pays off. Because, because of my work ethic, when the Liberty Line came around, they used to give us these numbers, where if you had a number one, you got to go on Liberty with the first classes and, right behind the Chiefs.
Okay.
So they handed that out to their top performers. For young airmen at that point in time, that was everything. I can remember the first port we poured into, that wasn't U.S. port. I think it was Thailand, Pattaya Beach, I think. And I am on the boat with my LPO and my CAT captain. And, these guys, we're sitting there. They bought me a beer. We're sitting there drinking a beer. And Liberty launched. The Liberty call hadn't been going 40 minutes, and I'm already off the ship. And that line is all the way through the hangar bay to the other side of the ship. So just it taught you hard work, leadership skills. There, in my opinion, are no better leaders than ABs. And people don't give us credit for that often enough. They stereotype us, we don't get educated, we're not good leaders, but it takes everything to manage, lead, maintenance, lead the flight deck. Because not only are you leading your people, you're leading everybody else.
Absolutely.
You're responsible for every soul up there. So the AB community has taught me tremendous things. And I think that's why military personnel are so marketable after they retire, after they get out. I wasn't a big reader as a kid.
Right.
Having to read tech manuals, having to delve into it. It teaches you follow things step by step. This is the process. It teaches you processes. It teaches you management, leadership, dealing with people, having to go to V1, having to go to V3 and hold a conversation with other people outside of your little clique and get things done. Definitely taught you stuff like that.
One thing I like is the fact that, well, ABs, we kind of surprise people in the fact that just pure mentorship and just doing what you're told can get you pretty far, right? But when you start getting into those manuals and situations comes up that no one taught you how to do, that's when you tell the difference. When it's just like the situation ain't never happened, because a mentor can only tell you so much what they've been through, what they've experienced.
Yeah.
But it's gonna come a point to where it's like you're gonna be the first one. That is just like, what are you gonna do?
That is an excellent point. And for me, I won't say I didn't really trust what people talk. I learned at an early age that you can't always trust what people are telling you about certain things, because people like to take shortcuts. And I'm looking, I'm like, what's this over here? Oh, that's tech manual. It's on the floor. Yeah, we know what we're doing. I'm thinking to myself, it don't look like it, but okay. So just early on, I picked up on things like that. I watched people make mistakes. And I prided myself on not making that same mistake that I watch you make.
Gotcha.
Whether you tell me about that mistake or not, I'm watching it. I see. And when we got to go back and redo that maintenance, I already know. Then I'm getting that manual. I'm not dealing with you anymore. Anything you tell me at this point,
Questionable.
I'm going back and check it out in that manual or that PMS card. So just kind of came into the Navy with that type of attitude. Just wanted to know it for myself, and didn't trust what I was always being told, because
Now, also pressure too. You know, you spoke briefly earlier about being on the flight deck and being out there while aircrafts is launching and recovering. We learn to do a lot of stuff under pressure and stuff
Absolutely.
like that. So, what did it teach you about yourself being under that pressure? What did you learn about yourself?
Well, I'm gonna tell you that I think the biggest thing it did for me, I am not this guy that you see before you today. Naturally, I am not a natural, uh, almost extroverted type person. I am a tremendous introvert. If you pay attention to me for a long time at an event, the first part of that event, I'm all up in there. I'm getting it in. I'm doing my thing. Give me a couple hours. You'll see me back in the cut back there, and I've just gotten off to myself because I've always just appreciated my time. My, regardless of what space I'm in, I'm good whether I'm with 10 people or by myself. I'm equally good. So that's why I said, I recognize the fact that you need people to confide in, but for the longest time, I was that person. It sounds crazy, but I knew I had always had my best interests at heart, regardless of what was happening. So, and my wife takes up a lot of that. We are a lot alike. The pressure that being an AB puts you under is nothing, nobody else experiences that. I can remember them freaking tomcats hitting me in the back of the head and I'm trying to put slot seals in. You guys never stopped stroking them. Either you were going to put them in or in my mind, I was going to get ran over.
Right.
I didn't think that they were going to stop the airplane and give me time to put these seals in the gap, because I think the guys that I worked with back then probably would have run me over. I don't know. But we were always at odds. So yeah, that pressure teaches you to be able to perform and perform well under pressure, not just perform, because anybody can, make a quick decision, but making the right decision because of the repetition of having to do it over and over again.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely.
There's another question I had was it's being on what you just said, you have to learn to survive up there, right? And some people just survive and some people thrive, and you definitely thrived. So with that being said, what do you think it was that made you thrive than just survive?
I'm going to have to go back to that competitiveness again. I just never, I tell people now, if I tell you something, take it to the bank. Because I'm not going to open my mouth if I haven't done the research on it. If I tell you I'm going to kill you, run. Because I'm coming after you. I don't use those words that way, but that's, I say stuff like that to drive points in people's head. And I tell them just like, look, if I tell you I'm going to kill you, run, because I'm truly going to kill you. I don't open my mouth to say things that I hadn't put some research and information into. So, that's just me in a nutshell. I hate to be wrong, 100%. So the only way not to be wrong is to make sure you research what you're doing, what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So that's it.
So at some point, there was a transition from enlisted to LDO, right? What made you do that?
It's probably gonna sound as bad as that other stuff I said about first increment, but I that's not a brag for me. That's just the work that I put in. I got tired of working for people that I was smarter than.
Okay.
And I'm gonna clean that up a little bit because it comes across a little whatever. But I watched decisions being made that put me into a position that I wasn't comfortable with. So, in order not to be that, people ahead of me were saying all the time, "Look, didn't take my job."
That used to
Okay,
be
cool.
Absolutely.
Don't threaten me with a good time, because eventually I'm gonna try and do that. I'm gonna try and work you out of your job. But literally, I'm going to try and take that job from you. So that was my motivation. That, and I had a warrant officer. You know, young people get fascinated by the damnedest things. Used to light my division officer up. My division officer was a butt at the time. So the warrant used to tear him. I had a lot of respect for this dude. He had a whiny voice. He was probably 6'3", had hips, thick dude from Kentucky, but he was all business. Yeah, he was a good dude, a good person for me to work for as my very first maintenance officer.
So without saying any names or anything like that, you said that oftentimes you were put in situations that you felt uncomfortable. What was one of those situations that stand out in particular?
Just the way we were calling people at the time. I may have been a little biased because I had been there for a long time, and people would come in and they would jump them over me. You know, they were first class. I was second class at the time, but you know, they knew I knew this equipment in and out. You know, so we would be operating, and there were some do's and don'ts on that old system that I grew up on. You know, if you did a certain thing, you caused maintenance. So, you know, I got tired of every time they screwed up, I had to go fix it. You know, they weren't calling them to go fix it, then I had to go fix it. So, you know, in order to be able to not do stuff like that, and, you know, I wanted to make chief and was able to make that happen. But, you know, I've always had the vision of, if I'm going to do this long term, then I need to be the one that's calling the shots, or at least close enough to the top where I can semi-call the shots. You know, no one person is always in charge unless you're doing your own thing. But that was my motivation.
So how important was making chief for you?
It was everything. I was, and I made it first time up, but it was just getting there. You know, like I said, going from second to first was my mountain. That was the mountain I had to climb to get over. So when I made first class, I made chief like that. But I had, you know, as soon as I made it, I was thrown in LPO positions right off the bat. As soon as I think I started to get into that, the maintenance officer told me, hey, because I had a partner, me and this cat was thicker than thieves, Marshall Townsend. And we ran waste gas. Marshall ran 4, I ran 3. You know, and we were always on point. You know, to the point where I used to frustrate the gear chief all the time because in my mind, I couldn't rationalize how they had missing red tag sheets. They had no organization. You know, that work center was a mess. And, you know, me and my boy was on, because half of the time my guys were scared of me because, you know, hey, look, if you are not on point, then you got to go. You know, we are going to do this thing right, and we're going to do it the hard way. Well, the only way. So that was really my motivation for making chief. Just watching the people around me. That was just one of the steps for me.
And was it one of those situations where you're not putting in any officer packages until you make chief, or
No, I put in one as first class.
Okay.
No. Yeah, you know, like I said, I'm a winner.
Right.
I'm competitive, so you know, I put in one as a first class. Me and the maintenance officer didn't really see eye to eye. And so, and I'm not blaming him. This is probably my fault because I never asked for help. I didn't ask anybody for help because I didn't want people thinking that I needed them. So I went into my very first LDO interview. The maintenance officer didn't really know that I was he found out last minute that I was putting in a package. Okay. And I probably would not have been even though I was his number one guy, I would not have been his selection to put a package in because, you know, Alquin Harris had a mouth on him. And we had some run-ins that we might delve into. But I go in this board, I interview, and there's a lieutenant commander. I think he was the electro. There was a lieutenant. She was the CAPT officer, and there was a warrant officer. I think he was AIMD type. Mm-hmm. 10s across the board from the lieutenant commander and the lieutenant, and a 7 from the warrant officer. And I'm like, 7? What board was he at? Mm-hmm. I did well on the board. I didn't miss any of their answers, but I'm assuming something he didn't like about the way. And I was a young first class. I hadn't been long put it on. I probably was into my second year as first class. So then, and I put another one in right prior to leaving the ship. And then I actually made it off that package.
Okay.
But I picked up as an alternate. So as soon as I left the ship, I made chief. Mm-hmm. And then I interviewed that year for LDO as a chief. And October rolled around, probably end of October. I get my package back in the mail because I send it to the board. And when it comes back, it has a letter attached, and the CO calls me up. He hands me my package back, and I'm like, I'm confused because, sir, did you pull my recommendation? He's like, no. And he hands me a letter, and it says that I've been selected as an alternate. Uh-huh. So, and from that, it was history. Gotcha. But, yeah, I've always wanted to make chief. I always valued the, and no knocks against the people who don't make chief. There were people that were, unless you made chief in very few years, like some are doing now, and this ain't a shot, Master Chief, so don't take it as a shot, but, as some are doing now, you weren't gonna, you didn't always get afforded that opportunity. Because you remember, I come up in the era, my last eval as a first class was the first time that we started doing EP. Okay. But it didn't mean it. Mm-hmm. We wasn't taking any time off. We hadn't really gotten into that. So that's the era that I made chief in. Okay. My last fit rep was that EP format. Mm-hmm. My last evaluation was the EP format. So, but you weren't taking any time off your time in service, time in grade for promotion at that time. So,
gotcha. So you had mentioned that part of the reason why you wanted to be an officer was because people was put you in some compromised and unsafe situations, and the way that they, made choices and stuff like that. So once you got commissioned, you get to your command and everything like that, what was one of those first situations that you can remember that it made you recollect, like, this is why I'm glad I'm doing this, because somebody else would have put somebody in a jacked up situation?
So funny you asked that. I check on board GW August of 2000. First day there, they're in the water breaks, doing the water break job. So get in there doing that stuff, pull out a couple days later. After, I'm going to give you a time frame, there was an Airbus crash in the bay there in Bahrain in 2000. Okay. We were scheduled to pull out the day of the crash, but when it crashed in the water. So the crew was helping clean up and stuff like that. So we pull out from there. We get underway, and we got checks in the gear coming up, separatings, which are on the crossheads and the ship dampners, or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And one of my QAs walk up to me and say, "Sir, the readings are out of specs." I'm like, okay. He said, what you want me to do? I said, what do you mean? What do I want you to do? He said, well, you know, we couldn't just automatically say stuff was bad without running it through you. I was like, well, I said, what the readings say? He said, it's bad. I said, then it's bad. So, you know, that's the type of situation that, and it wasn't a bad thing, the command I was at, but, you know, but that's how micromanaged they were at that point in time. So I was like, look, don't ask me about readings that are, if I have a concern, I will ask you a question. I'm going to ask you, did you double check the tool that you use? Was that tool calibrated? I'm not going to ask you if, because that reading is out of spec, can you not say that that was the out of spec reading? You could say it was this reading. No, then play that game. So, you know, we squashed that right off the bat and, you know, moved on. But this tool was pretty interesting. That was probably, now when you talk about could have broke, that first year and a half or 2 years of my commission time could have broke me. Year and a half, I would say. Because prior to, so I'm a young chief, you know, I'm getting paid, you know, you can't tell me nothing at this point. I'm doing the thing. I call the detailer once I figure out that I'm a select, and I say, hey, what do you got in already? I say, I see GW may have opening. He was like, nope. Only thing I got for you is the Iwo Jima. I said, Iwo Jima, what's that? Yeah. He was like, you're gonna go to a fuse job and it's a pre-com down in Pascagoula. I'm like, Iwo Jima don't have no cats, no wrestling gear.
Not at all.
He's like, well, that's all I got for you. I said, okay, cool. So I get into that process. You know, I'm always going to prepare. So we start looking for places down there. I start reaching out, and I was scheduled to commission July 1st of 2000. Around the 1st of May, I get a phone call from the detailer. Hey, no, he said, what would you think about moving your commissioning date up a month? I'm like, to June 1st. He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. I'm good with that. He said, the caveat is I need you to go to GW and be the maintenance officer there. I'm like, okay, well, cool. I asked you for the beginning, so no problem. He said, however, I'm going to have to call you back. Things aren't solidified yet. And I'm like, I got the same look you got on your face now. I'm like, okay, well.
But you called me for the beginning.
What are we talking here? He said, I'll let you know. I'll call you back. He said, matter of fact, he said, I'll call you back in a week. Week goes by. 10 days go by. 2 weeks go by, no phone call. So I called him up. Hey, sir, what's up? He's like, hey, give me another week. I'm like, okay. I said, but, you know, I'm getting ready to go to school here shortly, and I'm in transfer, so I need to figure out, or, you know, I need to go down and get housing for my I got, you know, I'm married, I got kids, I'm gonna make sure my family's set. So he's like, hey, give me a week, bro. I said, okay, good. I said, so I give him a week. It's May 21st at this point. And remind you, I was supposed to commission in June. So long story short is, he was like, you know, somebody on the ship said that they knew you, they worked with you, and you know, the ship isn't quite sold on you coming there. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? He said, you're going to commission June 1st, and you're going to go to Lakehurst. You're going to go to school first, and then you go to Knife and Fork after. I'm like, okay, cool. I said, well, when will I find out when I got the orders or not? He said, we'll figure it out while you're up in Lakehurst. I'm like, Okay, right. No worries. So I'm frustrated as heck at this point. And Captain Jones is in Lakehurst. So he calls me and say, hey, he didn't know me from anybody. So he calls me up and say, hey, Marvin, who did you work for? Blah, blah, blah. I told him the people I worked for. And he was like, okay, all right, cool. About probably about 2, 3 weeks into the maintenance officer course, the detailer calls up and say, all right, you going to GW? I'm like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. So we continue on that process. Unbeknownst to me, that there was another guy that is the ship had been talking to about the billet. Um, Senior to me, warrant officer, was commissioned in the same. He was commissioning right behind me. I was a June commission. He was a July commission. Um, and at that point, the ship was wanting to bring this guy in. So I'm up in Lakehurst. The ship is getting ready to go on deployment. Fly out to the ship, and I get there, and we're in Bahrain. Go aboard the ship, get in the job, and I'm there probably 3 weeks, and the dude that I'm relieving is still there. I'm like, hey, bro, I told you 2 weeks ago you can, go back and go ahead on up to the flight deck. When we're going to sign our letter. There's a letter of turnover. He's like, well, we got to talk to the boss about it. I'm like, okay. Right. Well, tell the boss I'm ready. So probably another week or so, we sign the letter. He goes up there and he goes away. And we're operating. We're watching things go. Start going up on deck watching ops. And I'm watching Cat 4 and something isn't right with the cat. I'm looking at it. Got an idea in my head what's happening. And this is within probably the first retract. I watch it come back and I'm like, what the world? The shuttle takes off. They retract it back, set it up, launched the airplane. Next thing, it does the same thing. Shuttle takes off. I'm like, So I watched it for a day or two and I was like, all right, well, I need to go. Go up, talk to the handler. And he's like, tell the boss, go tell the boss, blah, blah, blah. So I go up to primary, tell the boss, and he's looking at me and said, Marvin, you new around here. I think you're just trying to make a name for yourself. And I look at him like, what, sir? I said, I got a name. I've had a name for the last 32 years. I don't need to make a name for myself. He said, all right, well, I got it under advisement. I explained to him what we had to do. In those situations, we got a CAS rep and CAPT who come out and they perform a procedure on it. So I was like, okay, sir. I said, this problem is not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. So I was like, cool. I go back downstairs, and this is probably 3 weeks in. So I don't have a reputation there yet, and that's what he thought, that I was trying to build a reputation by finding all this stuff wrong. So I go downstairs. I was like, cool. I'm gonna go to chow. This is the same day. I'm up in the forward wardroom. I'm up in the dirty shirt. I'm eating, and I hear file deck over the one on the 5MC. File deck. And V2 Bolster, report to primary. V2 Bolster, report to primary. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, had a maintenance officer that I worked for, told me, hey, Professor Harris, never rushed your ass, children. So I'm sitting there, I finish eating, and I get up and walk back to the office. Get in the office, they're like, Bolson, Air Boss been calling you. So, okay, cool. Grab my radio, and I slowly walk up to primary. I get up to primary, he is freaking out. So the shuttle at this point had shot probably greater than probably 2/3 way up the cat. enough where it filed the LA when it shot up. I mean, just it was sitting back there. We had it set up for recovery, and it just shot. It got a steam leak behind it. And at that point, he realized that, okay, this kid might know what the heck he's talking about. We get the problem resolved. And now it's time for my midterm counseling. So 6 months into the job, I get my midterm because it just kind of lined up that way. And the boss walks in and says, hey, things are going well, Marvin, but we think that's the result of the work that the guy before you had put in. You talk about punch in the gut. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say at this point. I'm like, oh, okay, sir. I mean, I'm never one to do stuff to prove things to anybody. So the whole point of that story is that entire first year and a half, I had a chip on my shoulder. You know, just so I had to be hyper vigilant, and already everybody's watching what you do in that position. The handler was another story. He was an ABE. I could not do anything right, you know, just
because he had experience in it.
He had experience in it. The only way I survived that first year and a half is that the flight deck crew had a senior chief up there. My man, 50 grand, Ray Harbor. Ray did everything in his power to make sure that I was always set up. You know, we were carrying like 45, 48 airplanes on the flight deck. So it's airplanes everywhere. So when we do maintenance, depending on what the maintenance is, you got to function the wire. So every day I'm up there fighting to function the wires. You guys moving airplanes, you know, so first go has gone off, second go has gone off. Now I'm functioning wires because we just got all the airplanes out of LA. So I got from the time the birds get in the break to have had that paperwork processed. And I wasn't opening that wire until I stroked that paperwork. So that became an issue, back and forth with me, the boss, and the handler. It was one time I come up and the guys had moved the airplane so we could function. You know, I went out there and talked to him. He made them stop moving the airplane and put it back in spot. So at that point, it became personal to me. We don't talk to this day. I'm not going to mention his name. We don't talk to this day. I've not looked this guy up, and but I got Captain Singleton in. Captain Singleton relieved this guy. And, you know, so Captain Singleton shows up, and I bring him my sheet. So I'm standing there, you know, I'm AB8, so I'm explaining this stuff to him, and just get ripped. He is like, if you don't get out, he said, what, you think I can't read? He said, you got everything you need on this sheet of paper here, but I wasn't accustomed to that. And he was like, look, I'm not an idiot, Marv. I got it. You said you need to function this wire, you need to function that wire. That's why you put them little doohickey things on there. And I'm looking at him like, so we good, sir? Because I'm not accustomed to this. And
Shifting the culture.
Man, you talk about, that was the moment for me when everything changed as an officer. Because I'm going to tell you, you're facing multiple things at that point. It's not like being in the mess. You have no support system. The handler is supposed to be my support system. He's supposed to be my guy. So that's, and we'll get to that later on, that what directed my leadership when I was handler, to make sure that I, you know, not just look out, I got to look out for the entirety of the flight deck and the air wing to make sure things go. But as a leader, you got to look out for the people that, you know, you have working under you and making sure they're good to go. You know, you don't go out of your way to make things difficult. And this dude, I felt like he went out of his way. Other people may disagree, but I felt he went out of his way to make things hard. And when Captain Singleton came in, man, that thing was like a breath of fresh air. You know, everything just kind of took off from that point. So that was the point for me that I was like, because I was, them first 2 years, them first 18 months, I'm like, shoot, you know, I don't want to do this. Yeah, maybe I should stay the chief.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that was that moment for me. Um, at that point, people can make things really difficult for you,
So,
whether they intentionally try to do it or not.
mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I don't think it was a race thing. I don't think it was anything like that, other than the fact that I was an unknown quantity.
Gotcha.
These guys didn't know me, and I'm not the type of person that I am not going to tell you I'm the greatest. You'll never hear. You heard me say that I made first and second increment. I thought in my head, I'm not going to tell you that.
Right.
I think I'm the best.
I mean, it's a difference between cockiness and confidence.
Absolutely.
So
But I don't even wear it that way. I would rather just let my work speak for me.
understand.
It will speak volumes.
So switching kind of from operational because you've done CO command, CNAT,
Yep.
things like that.
Yep.
Even down to your current job, and that's kind of constructing, building carriers for sailors you'll never meet. But kind of going back, once you got done with the operational side, right, and kind of got into your tours, CO, XO, and stuff like that. How did that change? What was that experience like?
Um, it was really good. It allowed me to exercise that leadership that I always knew I had. Having run a flight deck, the numbers don't compare to being the handler and making sure that a 600, 700 man air department is up, man, trained, and equipped along with the air boss mini and the master chief. But there is nothing like the charge of command. That is a weight I carried from the 19th of January, 2019 till September of 2020, September 14th of 2020. That burden is something fierce. You hear them talk about the burden of command. That's a real thing.
And you caught it during COVID too.
Caught it during COVID. It was a interesting time. Now, I have to back up though. I have to digress because you're in there as XO. When I went to leadership school, those guys up in Rhode Island do a pretty good job. I had the instructor up there kept reiterating, hey, you are the PXO, not the PCO. So when you go into command, don't go in there as the PCO. It's not your command yet. So you need to support your skipper. And that message resonated with me. As simple as it was, it resonated with me every time the skipper may have, we may have clashed a little bit. Like I said, I'm an alpha. I've always been an alpha. So, when things weren't quite going my way, I had to dial it back and understand that it was not my time. It was not. That is a hard thing. And you watch them making decisions, you're like, I wouldn't have made that decision. I wouldn't have made that.
Yeah.
That armchair quarterback is a real thing.
That's what you mean by you're not the PCO, you the XO. So
Until
support.
you get punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson said it.
Yeah.
Everybody got a plan until you get hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
When you put that doggone command on, it is a different beast. That I don't know if I rested that entire time.
What was your first mount point?
Actually, it started even before I took over. It happened as we transitioned from me coming in as CO. So I had a sailor commit suicide.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, I had multiple. That was that's a harsh reality about being in that area of the country. But we had a sailor, and I'm gonna use the word allegedly.
Okay.
His wife was messing around on him. She was also from the military. Had just gotten back from deployment. Threw a party. They were separated. He was staying downstairs somewhere. They had 2 kids. And this is my number one guy, first class. I know this kid is gonna make, no doubt in my mind. I reviewed this guy. This is after I met you. I think I met you in 19 at the Chiefs board up there. This is after I meet you. So he wife has a party. There's a few sailors there. Toward the end of the party, the wife and this young man was in the bedroom together, and he finds out and freaks out, and he kicks open the door, has his gun, and points the gun at the sailor, and attempts to shoot him. Nope. He points the gun. Nope. He tries to. He was going to shoot, I guess, around into the ceiling or something like that. But anyway, he ended up shooting the sailor through the side, flesh wound.
Okay. Graving still ain't okay, but
Yeah. Gravely
worse.
And once he realized he had shot the sailor, this is the second shot now, because he shot one into the ceiling. Second shot at the sailor, it grazed him, and then it must have scared him. It flashed for him, and the next move, he turned the gun on himself and took his own life right there. Yeah, it was probably the hardest thing that I've had to do with. I had one as an XO. I'm trying to think. I can't even remember. The number ain't even important.
Right.
I had too many.
Yeah,
For any 3-year period of leadership time, had well too many. So that was really the first big challenge, is, trying to navigate that setting where, and the wife is still in the picture. The family and the wife, and, things get messy. I didn't follow them long term to see how things eventually went, but I think the family felt a certain kind of way. It was just a very uncomfortable situation.
Now, you as a leader, how much does that tear at you? I imagine you never really get over that type of
don't. The part for me is he had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I grew up without a father.
Okay,
so that really hits me hard, because they knew their father, and their father was taken away from them. So it was a really big thing. Loss, I won't say. You just become accustomed to it. We had Big Rob get hurt, get killed on Ike, the GW wire snap. I'm flight deck officer, and I'm in the chair, and we're CQing 120, and the Hawkeye goes up, flies, and crashes right into the water in front of the ship. So
I remember that. Yeah.
We get a little, I won't say accustomed, because that's a horrible word to use, but we adapt to loss. But when it lost like that, and these kids adored their pops, they were always at the command, because his wife was underway on deployment, so he would bring the kids in when babysitting had fall through, and they'd run around there and do their thing. So we got accustomed to seeing them there. And it really tugs at you. It's a tough thing to try and navigate through, and then navigating 2 separate commands too. Because our sailor was the person that committed suicide. All of that really fell on us to have to process through, and I wouldn't have had it any other kind of way. That was definitely tough. So that, dealing with COVID, trying to move sailors during COVID was my little first cousin passed from COVID, April of 2020.
Oh, so that was early on.
Yeah.
That was early.
Yeah, right in the middle of it, right when it first started. And So, you know, I had that pulling on me. Matter of fact, I got a picture. I had just joined the Navy. She was a baby at that time. Me holding her. But yeah, COVID, man, was rough. And just trying to get sailors, because we couldn't stop moving sailors. You know, we had to go through all these protocols coming in. So we'd bring them in, we'd house them, quarantine them for 2 weeks, bring them into the schoolhouse, get them into the school, and then depending on where they were going, I had some of these students so long I thought they were staff members because of the, you know, having to. There were only one flight going to Japan, so we'd get them on that flight. We were doing NATO flights to get them back and forth to Norfolk, to San Diego, to Lemoore. You know, a lot of, but you know, that is also an opportunity to learn how to coordinate, how to, you know, think outside the things that you would normally be doing and being responsible for.
Yeah,
But, I mean, it was a good time. I had an outstanding chief mess.
that's good. I think COVID kind of taught us some things that we could do better, and it's some things that COVID kind of taught us or gave us the impression we can do without, and we still ain't kind of got back to
No.
that yet, you know,
I
because
definitely agree.
we just assume that we managed, and we still managing, I guess.
Yeah.
And we're not back to, you know, normal.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. My son graduated during COVID. My son's graduation is we drove up. He jumped out the car, ran over, grabbed his diploma, shook the, shook the principal's hand with their not real gloves on.
Yeah.
Jumped back in the car, and we drove off.
And you don't get that back.
You don't get that back.
You don't get
You
that
know, heartbreak. That's my dude too.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking for me.
Yeah.
You know, so.
For, you know, all them years of school for that
Yeah.
build up.
But you know what? Didn't even phase him.
That's good.
He shook it off. You know, so. Yeah, COVID was a beast.
So now currently you're up at DC, and part of the job that you do up there is pretty much setting sailors up, future sailors up, you know, in regards to construction and building carriers, right? How is that different than everything you've done? I mean, you ain't leading a division, a department, no command. How's that?
Way different. I tell you, probably been one of the better jobs I've had in
Really?
just based off for exposure. When you know you have different seasons in your life and in life period. So this was the job to have gone to transitioning into retirement like I'm doing now, and just having that interaction, watching them build, interacting with the leadership of the shipyard has been definitely an enlightening tour for me.
That's good. So, 87 till now, you've seen a lot. What are some of the things that the Navy has done right?
I think the things that we've done right or tried to do right is the way we continue to improve. The things that we need to tighten up on, and I say the Navy, but it's really us.
Okay.
We get our instruction, and what do we do with it? We take it, we read it, we dissect it, and we figure out.
How to bend it around.
See, there you go. How do we get around it? So I think our ability to get around some of this stuff has truly hurt us.
Okay.
The AB community right now is struggling, and it breaks my heart. I won't throw blame at any group because it's not a specific group issue. We've got to reset and get back to basics. So I've seen the good and the bad. You asked about the good, but I think the way that we developed You know, I didn't see a lot of people look like me
Mm-hmm.
when I first started as Master Chiefs. As you know, I was the first few chiefs. My division chief was you know, and this is not a racial thing. This is a representation thing.
Absolutely. I understand.
You've got to show people what they can become before they have an ideal of what they can become, especially people that come from nothing.
So policies, right? You've, like you said, AB community. You've been in it. You've shaped some things. What are one of the policies that you put into place that you could say that you're most proud of?
Um, ooh, probably. So I won't say policies, but I mentioned, and I'm a E,
Yeah, right.
right? You're an H.
Was yeah.
My flight officer tour.
Mm-hmm.
I walk back on the waist, and you know, I pick up stuff pretty quick, and I'm watching my guys do their thing, and it bugged the crap out of me. Every time we suspended on Cat 3, they want to fold the wings and shoot past 3. It just did not make sense to me. We didn't save enough to do. I'm all about the return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
The return on investment was not there for me. I say this is my biggest failure, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I would not let my guys shoot 4 past 3
Okay.
before Rob got killed,
Mm-hmm.
because it just bothered the heck out of me, because we were a little bit too lackadaisical around the you know, around Cat 3. I could see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not that I could predict that, but that process bothered me. It really, of all the things that we did on the flight deck, that was probably the most thing that I was most uncomfortable with. Everything else, I'm good. Okay, cool. Give me that. So I say that's my greatest failure. So I should have made more noise about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if I could have convinced people that that was not a. Now, you know, before you shoot past, well, it used to be before you could shoot past Cat 3, you had to talk to the captain about it. You got to get some type of higher level, because it's just that serious. That was a try, and
Rest in peace to him.
yeah, man.
Yeah, I served with him before.
So that really bothered. That still bothers me to this day. That young man, because he's from Detroit. My family's from Detroit, so you know that bothers me really bad. That I didn't speak up loudly enough. I don't know if I could have changed it, but
Right.
I think I could have said. But you know, for me, in that little platform there, I did have enough pull to, and you know, the bosun was right with me, and he was like, he was like, yeah, we don't save. And he said, I'm gonna be honest, Mom, we don't save a whole lot of time. I'm like, okay, so we're not gonna do that unless we absolutely have to do it, and me and you are gonna be back here. One of us is gonna be back here.
Okay.
So that for me would be that, you know. Policy for ABEs, I'd have to think on that. I think, you know, it takes a long time in our community to, I would say the greatest thing was, you know, selecting warrants and LDOs, setting boards, and giving back to the community.
It's always a good thing.
And then learning the process. You know, we can write some horrible evaluation and fit reps. So just being able to advise people on, hey, these are some of the things you want to do. These are some of the things that you should do. But I think we have to take a look at that right now. And I'm probably going to piss you off. In my opinion, I'm going to say it like this: the maturity level or the experience and expertise level of our sailors are not what it used to be. I don't want to be like the old heads and say that we're soft. That's not.
I understand.
We are not afforded the opportunity. Sometimes we don't take the opportunity to make sure that we train.
Hey, I understand what you're saying. I know what you're saying. We're not as vocal as we used to be. We're not as much in your face as we used to be.
We're not
And
subject matter experts like we
that
used to
part,
be.
we could go on and on, but I get it. We'll be here another 30, 40 minutes.
Maybe another
So,
couple of hours.
that's another
So,
show.
Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
jump down that, but that is what's killing us right now. And not just ABEs, across the board.
Gotcha.
We've had some things happen on carriers in the last, 2 wire separations. The air boss is knocking our heads. I expect nothing less. It is said right now that the pilots don't trust ABs. That is a punch in the gut.
It is. It is. So
That is a tough one right
yeah,
there.
it's
So,
tough. Yeah.
and I know we kind of dove into that, but that experience level for our leadership. So we follow the same program that we follow, but the people that we expect to train don't have the experience.
Right.
We've got to back up. We got to reset and get brilliant at the basics again. So,
But that's we
and I'm gonna stop there.
Right. So what's next? That's a good segue to what's next, because
So what's next?
what's the next moment you're working toward?
I think I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna do some work. I think I'm gonna have a few opportunities to do some contracting work.
Okay.
But me and the wife gonna hang out in D.C. Let's bring this thing personal.
Okay.
Me and the wife hanging out in D.C. for a year, maybe 2.
Okay.
I don't have babies anymore. Both my boys work at the shipyard, so we're gonna hang out. She's teaching up there, so we're just gonna hang out for a little bit and enjoy.
Kurt, 3 more quick questions.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Plan it out, stick to the plan, or figure it out as you go.
Definitely plan it out, and I can't say stick to the plan because things change. But plan it out. If you don't plan, you're gonna fail
Gotcha.
because you're not gonna have a path to go down. You gotta plan.
All right. Bet on yourself or wait.
Depend on where you are. But I'm gonna always say bet on yourself,
Absolutely.
without a doubt. But you may not be that individual, so know who you are, and always bet on yourself.
Try and fail, or never try and not know.
Try and fail. If you never try, you never change. You're never gonna grow.
That's it. That's it.
We're never gonna grow.
And one more here. All right. Morning or evening?
Both
Both.
don't matter to me. Cause my evenings run into the morning sometimes. Maybe. So, but I will tell you, I have to get about 5 hours though. If I don't get 5 hours, I'm unbearable. So I don't. But if I'm out late, I can pop up in the morning because I've always been a morning guy. But if I'm working out, I prefer in the morning.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I do both. It don't matter.
Okay. Recognition or personal satisfaction?
Personal satisfaction.
I know it.
I don't care what people think about me. So it has never been, and that can be a downfall though. I will caveat that. That's why I struggled my first couple of years as an officer because nobody knew me, other than the people who had worked with me directly before. Nobody. I was never wanted to be AB of the year, none of that stuff. I just wanted to do the job. And it'd be like, I'm an introvert. I am a natural I told you that earlier.
Yeah.
It don't appear to be that way because in public I will put on a good face. But at the end of the day, I'm looking for somewhere to escape to just decompress a little bit.
Okay. And mentorship, you had mentioned that earlier to you. And you mentioned that you didn't have a mentor until well after the fact because of personal satisfaction.
Captain Singleton, Larry a little bit, but Larry wasn't with me long enough. Mentorship is a lifetime commitment. You know, people use that word dangerously.
They do.
Mentor. You're not a mentor. You're an advisor. If I'm not talking to you on a pretty regular basis for long term, investing in you, pouring in you, I'm not going to raise you, but you know, I'm going to invest in you. I talk to the people that I don't mentor very many people. I advise a lot though. Some of my advice straddles the fence between advice and mentorship based off of the seller. If you want that, then you'll continue to ask. I have guys who call me when they want something, and I got guys who call me to just chop it up a little bit. They eventually get to what they want, but those are the ones that I mentor. Gotcha. So, Captain Hernandez broke that down for me. I got to give him his props. He asked me the question, who was mentor? And I was like, mentor is a relationship, blah, blah. He's like, who was mentor? And I tried it again. Stop. Go figure it out. Now, I'm lieutenant commander at this point. And so I went and looked it up. Mentor was a person. Mentor, you know, go back and research it. Mentorship is a lifelong commitment, or at least the life of what you're doing. The extent, you really have to pour into somebody to be a mentor.
Absolutely.
So I only mentor a very few people, but I do advise a lot. So, you know, I got some that call me when they need something, and I got some that call me to check in, see how the old man's doing. And you know what? I appreciate them all the same.
Yeah.
Because it's not that for me. And that recognition or personal satisfaction, I never cared. People find that hard to believe. I never cared about evaluations, awards, and all that stuff because I figure it's going to come out in the wash.
Yeah.
But it's never about that for me.
Gotcha.
But my people, I'm going to make sure my people get taken care of because I understand the process of getting them promoted. So that's definitely a big thing for me.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down, talking with us. Like you said, a lot of moments. Thank you for sharing a lot of them with us. Congratulations on your retirement. Wish you the best following once you hang the uniform up. Looking forward to more moments from you, hearing from you. Any last words?
I appreciate you extending the invitation to come on and do this. And because normally I'm on the highway. As a matter of fact, I'm back in D.C. by now. Me and the wife down at the restaurant chilling by now, you know. But it was important enough to me to change that direction and come and do this and have this conversation. So I truly appreciate it. And like I said, I'm an introvert, so this isn't a natural thing for me. But yeah, I truly appreciate it. And what I will say is it's been a heck of a ride. Thanks to people like, you know, meeting people like yourself, Ramos, Miller, KL, Dre, you know, you guys are all like my kid brothers or my nephews because, you know, Dre get at me all the time about, sir, you left me. So it was great to see you guys come up and do your thing. I was a little disappointed that some of you didn't go CMC, but I understood your explanations. And I appreciate it. But you guys, you never realize it, but at certain points in your career, watching you do your thing is what kept me moving from one stage to the next. Because everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody hits that wall. You hit that wall multiple times. Now, whether you get up and climb over or dig under it or whatever, that has been, You know, seeing junior sailors do their thing, seeing guys like yourself do your thing, even watching you do this podcasting, has been really, you know, I look at my homeboy from Montgomery, Alabama. I bet you couldn't have told him 32 years ago he'd be on this thing doing a freaking podcast.
Not
So,
all.
legendary moments, legendary conversation with the AB legend, AP Parker. So, appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciation. Legendary moments. Conversations worth sitting down for. Peace. Appreciate.